Hello, Panther fans, and welcome to the Monday in the Box with your host, Timmy V.O. We're going to talk about the Broncos game, obviously. Let's get into it.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3,
Yeah. Whoa.
So, as most of you guys know, we're coming out on Mile High, losing by 2 touchdowns, 28-14 to the Broncos. And I'm just going to get into the quarters real quick in terms of the score and just go into the box. I mean, it's not a lot to talk about directly because we all knew we weren't going to win this game. Let's be honest about that. Injuries has just devastated both sides of the football. But there were some positives that came out of this, and that's why I'm coming back on here. The last couple of weeks has just been anyway. So first quarter, obviously. We get the ball off of a turnover, run that bad boy up in the end zone, boom. And then we go anemic until the fourth quarter. Okay, obviously. The second quarter is where we lost the game. That's where we lost the game. If based on how the layout of the game as a whole, all 4 quarters, we score 7 in the first, they score 7 in the third, we score 7 in the fourth. Right? Based on that trajectory, we probably should win the overtime. I'll get into the rest of the stats, and that's exactly how it looks. Turnovers killed us, obviously, which led to the fact that they got 21 in the second quarter. We got 0. And you have to remember, ladies and gentlemen, this is a top 5 defense, pretty much in every category. And you saw that for yourself. But we were able to do a little something. All right, so let's go into the individual stats here real quick. Of course, we're going to start with Bryce. And I mentioned on Twitter that this was not going to be in terms of me watching the game. It's not going to be a situation where I'm looking for the Panthers to win the game. This is more of an evaluation on Bryce and where he stands at this point. And he can, for somebody who has been out 4 weeks. No reps with the first team. He comes out there and he 24 of 37 for 224, 2 touchdowns, and of course 2 picks. One was a miscommunication, and the other was an underthrown ball, if I'm not mistaken. But I saw a lot of people talking on social media talking about Bo Nix is looking like a Pro Bowl quarterback against us, and this, that, and the third. And quite frankly, chunk yards that's what killed us. Ultimately in this game, the Broncos were getting chunk yards, 13, 14, 20, 30. And we had to scrap for everything we got. I mean, of course, that's a sign of the defense. The miscommunication in secondary is still there. We got new moving pieces and all that good stuff. But it was great to have one of our linebackers back. I forget my man's name. He played for Denver. He was flying around, man. I believe he had 5 tackles in the first quarter, if I'm not mistaken. But he was flying around. But man, he's a pro. He's a vet, and you can see the lack thereof in the secondary. But going to the game stats, I just want to talk about Bryce real quick. In comparison, one more thing about Bo Nix. His statistics: 28 of 37, just like Bryce. They had the same amount of attempts. But Bo only had 4 more completions than he did. But he's making Bo Nix look. People talking their emotions. 284 yards, only 60 yards more than Bryce. And they were getting chunk plays. Okay. And then of course he had 3 touchdowns. And he was clean on the INTs. I mean, if I'm telling you, man, we could have won this game if we didn't go, completely numb in the second quarter. We could have won this game. This is why I make Monday in the Box. I mean, the game says one thing, the stats tell another. You put it together, you have a clear picture of what the hell happened. That's what coaches do. This is what professionals do. I'm not saying I'm a pro. I'm just understand the concept of what they need to do to understand the game. Man, I just bring it to you. Panther Nation. All right. So total plays, they beat us by 13. Total yards, they had 400. We had 284. And again, we know the passing situation. Rushing yards, they had 102, and then I think this is the first time in a no, this might be more than the first time that we didn't get over 100. I mean, it's been a while if I'm not mistaken, but we might not have got 100 in the last game. Anyway, they had 7 more first downs than we did. The penalties really killed us on offense. And if you watch the game, you know what I'm talking about. 8 penalties for 49 yards. So we were getting a lot of stupid penalties. You know, if you have 8 penalties and you're still under 50 yards, that's 5-yard infractions, right? That's a lot of bonehead shit, right? We had 5 punts, they had 3. Okay, and you know they had 2 fumbles, and we had 2 picks, so we evened out actually in the turnover phase. We had 2 sacks, they had 2 sacks, and shout out to the O-line against this defense. By the way, you guys should really look at that. And Brady Christensen, that flag at the end of the game. You know, I listen to Jake and Luke on the radio all the time, and it was clearly a bad call. A bad call that disrupted our drive. That was a really bad call. Really bad call. Anyway, so let's go to the third downs and time of possession here real quick. Third down attempts by Denver was 17, and they got 11 of them. And we only got 5. And we had 14 attempts, so they beat us in that category, obviously. And again, it goes back to our defense. They had the ball 7 minutes more than we did, ultimately. Okay. Chuba had 15 attempts for 56. Gosh, he only had 3.7. Yeah, their D line was. Whew. I mean, you saw that from the beginning of the game, man. Their D line comes off the ball. Right? Woof. And this is why we need to give Brown help, man, instead of this patchwork that we're doing. But anyway, Jalen Coker. Jalen Coker, man. If there's a highlight to this offense in terms of us bringing in new players, Jalen freaking Coker. Oh my God, love it, man. 6 targets, 4 catches, 78 yards. You know, he was averaging almost 20 a catch. man. Miles Sanders. You realize he has 7 targets and 7 catches, right? Leggett, and I hate that he got caught up in the sun shining in his eyes, man. I hate that. That would have been a big play. Big play. It would have been a big play for him. You know, he has 7 targets, 4 catches, 34 yards. You know, people are catching the ball. remember back not too long ago when nobody could catch the damn ball. I swear it was I can't remember what year that was. I'm pretty sure it was a Matt Rule year. Nobody could catch the freaking football. Nobody, no matter who the hell we threw it to, they just couldn't catch the football. Now we got everybody catching the ball, man. It's good to see. But Jalen freaking Coker, oh my God, it's good to see Trimble back too, man. Good to see Trimble back. Once he gets his legs back under him, I think we'll take advantage of that too. Damani Richardson, 11 tackles. Excuse me, 7 tackles, 4 assists, so 11 total. Right? Josie Jewell, that's my man's name. He had 10 overall, 6 tackles, 4 assists. Mike Jackson flying around, but nobody can cover. Make that make sense in a league where anyway. Shot Tuttle, man, shout out, man. He played his ass off. You know. We got to get help, man. JC only had 2 total tackles. You know, we have got to get better on the back end, man, because that's what's killing us. Those chunk plays, those freaking chunk plays. We get them in third down, chunk. But we can't do that. We can't do that. So from a coaching standpoint, obviously Canales has to call a game different for Bryce than he does for Andy. It is what it is. It is what it is. You can't you can't teach experience and wisdom. That's not something that you can teach when it comes to the pros, and especially calls and things of that nature. And that's another thing that we were shooting ourselves in the foot with, was freaking getting those offensive calls in from the sideline. Luke and Jake mentioned it might be the equipment. It just seems odd, because we didn't have that. That's one issue we didn't have with Bryce the first 2 weeks, was getting the calls in. But again, I mean, it was loud in there. It was from what I could see, it was a packed house, and the cameras. You've noticed the cameras were shaking on third downs when they got loud. But hey, I'm just saying. It amazes me how many from what again from my vantage point, it amazes me how many teams don't institute a silent count automatically. It has to be something that they have to worry about. And again, you're putting in, especially when you're putting in a new scheme. I mean, you have to really manage your time appropriately, because the most important thing is that everybody's on the same page. But if you can't get the plays in, right? Now, I really like coaches who stack 2 or 3 plays in at the same time. And Bryce was checking throughout the game. Bryce was checking on some situations, and he made the right call. It's not our fault that Denver defense, again, is a top 5 defense. They fly. They're fast. They come downhill on the run. Their coach, their DC is phenomenal. Phenomenal. Hell, he looked like he could play himself. But Bryce, I was really happy to see, going to the quarterbacks now, I was really happy to see Bryce, not seeing ghosts. Right? A couple of times he had to pull it down. That's because the pocket was collapsing. And he's as tall as he is. That's why he's good on the run. It's not like the pocket collapses. He gets out the pocket. He can't throw the freaking ball. But he'll dime you on the run. But I'm glad to see him stay in the pocket and get the ball off. That pass on the left side of the field, for the offense, when he hit Coker in stride like that, bro, on the dot. That's Bryce. That's Bryce. Last season set him back probably a whole season. This is basically his rookie year. Let's be honest. You don't get a head coach, a whole new coaching staff. You're integrated with that coaching staff. You're learning from that staff. Then the staff splinters. They were never on the same page in the first place, but they splinter. Then you get a whole nother set of ideology and whatnot when it comes to the offense. You don't take that in as a young player on your first year and come out okay, especially when you're getting tagged like he was last year. He was getting punished, and he's still standing in the pocket. He's starting to trust what's in front of him. He said, "Hey, this O-line is not bad. Well, let me stay in here just a split second longer." The kid can play. You're not gonna tell me you can't play, man. You don't ball out in the SEC like that. First and foremost, at his height, you don't ball out like that and not be able to get it done. Come on, man. He's mentally strong. For somebody to sit down on, well, not sit on the bench technically, but to come off the field, you were named as a captain, you were labeled as a starter. Your first 2 weeks, you sucked ass. Pardon my French. You get demoted, but then you come out against a top 5 defense. First game back in 4 weeks, barely any reps with the first team. He didn't necessarily carve them up, but Bryce is back. No bad slander towards Andy, but I'm not sure Andy would have got us any better in that situation, considering what he's done the last couple of weeks. Because I don't know. It's hard to say, man. It's hard to say. We didn't have Deontay. We haven't had Thielen. It's hard to say. It's hard to say. We couldn't establish a run because we were, allowing them to get chunk play. It's hard to say if Andy would have been any better in that situation. But Bryce was, man. He's mentally tough. I ain't saying I'm not saying that he's just this is an all-star player and all this other shit, but you're not gonna tell me he can't play. You're not gonna tell me that. A lot of quarterbacks wouldn't be able to come out on the other end of what happened last year to that kid. That type of punishment. You saw it. You saw it. Should he have gotten more reps in the preseason? Probably. I think that came along on that situation too. But man, to step out there against a top 5 defense in their home and put up numbers almost equal to your opponent's quarterback, and people are talking about your opponent's quarterback like he was just fucking Aaron Rodgers. It's funny because you look at the numbers. You look at the numbers against that defense. I dare say Bryce had a better game, especially considering he doesn't have a offensive guru in a stable environment that he came into. There was no question about what was going on in the Denver Broncos locker room. The quarterback Bo, he came into that situation. That's a sound situation with an offensive guru. And Luke and Jake again. They're talking football on the radio, folks. If you're not listening to 99.7 on game day, you're really missing out because they're breaking down football lingo, bro. It's beautiful. Jake was laughing at Luke because Luke was calling on third downs. On a lot of the third downs, he was calling the exact same play. That's how much he is phenomenal with that shit. You guys are really missing out if you're not listening to Luke Kuechly and Jake Delhomme on the radio. You're really missing out. But what I'm saying is Sean Payton he's not going to do things outside of his character because coaches are narcissists too. Well, they're competitive. They're hell bent on what they want to do. But Sean Payton is a narcissist. Anyway, he's not going to stray away from what he's doing, especially with a rookie quarterback. He's going to give him the foundations of what he's going to do. And Luke was like, "Oh, well, they're going to run this concept. Oh, they're going to run this concept." And sure enough, it is amazing. It's amazing. But Bryce didn't go up against that. Bryce went up against a top 5 defense that gets after you, and he got comfortable. He started getting comfortable. Unfortunately, our defense couldn't stop anybody. And then the penalties came into play. And then I think that was a lot of the stoppage on our momentum on offense were penalties, especially in the second half. Anyway, so our defense is horrible. It is what it is, man. Those numbers that I gave you was a direct reflection on the fact that the Broncos were getting more reps on offense, time of possession. Yeah, it is what it is. We have got a lot of holes on defense, and don't be surprised if Dan Morgan does somewhat of a Matt Rule type of draft this upcoming year. BPA, yeah, but BPA on defense. It's got to be. It's got to be. It's got to be. I don't see us. I don't see us getting rid of too many receivers, but I think we're going to have to get younger. And if we keep getting any younger on offense, that's a direct sign that Dave Canales is not going anywhere. So not quite sure if Evero is going to be here next year, but expect that draft to be highly on the defensive end. Not the DM position. I'm talking about on the not the repetition, but we're going to draft a lot of defenders. Put it that way. We're going to start with the D line first and foremost. They're going to put somebody next to Big Brown, and Brown's going to bring them along. Right, he's going to be Big Brother in that situation. That's going to be a deadly combination. If we can get a first round, obviously we're probably going to have a top 5 pick. That's for sure. If we're going to have a top 5 pick and we're going to get the BPA on the D line situation, man, imagine who's going to be right next to Brown, right? And I think, if I'm not mistaken, we have four picks in the top 100, 3 or 4. So we can really go after some serious talent on defense. On the front, we can go DT first round, DN second round. Get some veteran help, young veteran help, in the middle linebacker position area, and keep coaching up DJ. Oh man, and now I'm sorry that I believe it was his ankle situation with him, man. But coach up DJ. Not sure if Clowney will be here next year or not. I'm not necessarily worried about that. But there's a good chance that we're going to draft a lot of defenders, which would be smart on our behalf. Straight up. I mean, we're set in the running back position. Our O-line is rotating beautifully. We're plugging in players, and we're still, limiting a top 5 defense to 2 sacks. So I mean, when we were in obvious passing downs on most of the second half. Yeah. Bryce is back. He's only going to get better because that O-line's better. He's only going to get better. We get him some more help. I would like to see him play a full game with this O-line at this stage of the season and going down the road. With this mentality that he has, he's playing like he was last year a little bit. And he got comfortable in the second half. I like to see that. So, stay tuned. I don't know who we're playing next because I don't care. I'm just in eval mode. Wins and losses don't mean shit to me right now. But there's no way we're going to the playoffs. There's no way we're going to, make a strong push to anything. It's strictly eval for me. Players getting better is all I care about right now. So it's great to see Bryce is back. It's great to see his O-line playing at a high level, no matter who's coming in. And our defense needs help. We're missing the biggest piece of our defense. I mean, our defense needs help. Maybe we'll get it. Take care of yourself, Panther fans. Keep pounding.
Take me to church.